Control over life often appears to depend on circumstances, people, luck, or sudden twists of fate. Yet the most profound realization a person can reach is that external events are rarely within our command, while our reactions always are. This simple distinction carries enormous psychological power. It shifts an individual from a state of helplessness to a position of quiet authority, where peace is no longer borrowed from the world, but generated from within. Imagine a storm. The winds roar, the rain lashes, and the sky darkens without seeking permission. No human voice can silence thunder or halt the falling rain. Yet a person standing beneath shelter remains calm, dry, and secure. In the same way, life continuously produces storms, unexpected criticism, sudden failures, misunderstandings, delays, losses, and disappointments. These events arrive uninvited and leave without consultation. However, the emotional chaos they create is not mandatory. It is optional, born not from the event itself, but from the reaction that follows it. When someone insults you, the words themselves carry no physical weight. They do not bruise the skin or break bones. Their impact is constructed in the mind that receives them. One person may erupt in anger, another may feel wounded, and a third may simply observe the insult as a passing noise. The difference lies not in the words spoken, but in the internal interpretation. This realization reveals an extraordinary freedom. No one can truly disturb your peace unless you permit them to enter the gates of your mind. Human beings are often trained from childhood to react impulsively. We are conditioned to respond to provocation with aggression, to failure with despair, and to uncertainty with anxiety. Such automatic reactions feel natural, but they are not inevitable. They are habits, and habits can be reshaped. Just as a musician trains their fingers to move with precision across an instrument, a disciplined thinker trains their mind to pause before responding. In that pause lives the space where wisdom is born. A controlled reaction does not mean emotional numbness. It does not require suppressing feelings or pretending to be unaffected. Instead, it involves acknowledging emotions without allowing them to dictate behavior. Anger may arise, but it need not control speech. Fear may appear, but it need not paralyze action. Sadness may settle in the heart, yet it need not extinguish hope. Emotions become visitors rather than rulers, observed rather than obeyed. Consider how much energy is wasted when reactions are uncontrolled. A single moment of irritation can escalate into hours of argument. A brief setback can transform into days of self-doubt. Entire relationships fracture not because of the original problem, but because of explosive responses that magnify minor issues into major conflicts. By mastering reactions, one not only protects inner peace, but also preserves valuable time, relationships, and opportunities that would otherwise be lost to emotional turbulence. There is also a quiet dignity in measured responses. A person who remains composed in chaos commands respect without demanding it. Their calm presence becomes a stabilizing force in tense situations. While others shout, panic, or complain, the composed individual observes carefully, speaks thoughtfully, and acts deliberately. This behavior reflects strength rather than weakness. True strength is not displayed in loud reactions, but in controlled restraint. Reactions are often fueled by assumptions. A delayed reply is interpreted as disrespect. A critical comment is taken as hostility. A mistake is viewed as a personal failure rather than a temporary misstep. These assumptions ignite unnecessary emotional fires. When a person learns to question their first interpretation, reactions become more rational. Instead of immediately feeling offended or discouraged, they ask, "Is there another explanation? Could this situation carry a lesson rather than an attack?" Controlling reactions also improves decision-making. Strong emotions cloud judgment, narrowing perspective and pushing individuals toward choices they later regret. Anger leads to harsh words that cannot be retrieved. Fear leads to missed opportunities. Jealousy leads to unfair comparisons. When reactions are regulated, the mind remains clear enough to evaluate situations logically. This clarity transforms impulsive decisions into deliberate strategies. In daily life, countless small moments test this principle. A traffic jam delays your schedule. A colleague receives credit for your effort. A plan you carefully prepared collapses unexpectedly. These moments may appear trivial, yet they accumulate. Each uncontrolled reaction strengthens the habit of emotional instability, while each calm response reinforces mental resilience. Over time, this consistent practice reshapes personality itself, turning impulsiveness into composure. There is also a profound sense of independence that emerges when reactions are mastered. A person who depends on favorable circumstances to remain happy becomes fragile, constantly at the mercy of unpredictable events. But someone who controls their reactions carries stability within them. Their mood does not fluctuate wildly based on the opinions of others or the randomness of daily life. They become self-governing, anchored by inner discipline rather than external approval. This discipline is not developed overnight. It requires conscious effort, repeated awareness, and occasional failure. There will be moments when anger escapes, when frustration leaks into words, when disappointment feels overwhelming. Yet each mistake serves as training, not defeat. Every time a person recognizes an uncontrolled reaction and resolves to improve, they move one step closer to emotional mastery. Language plays a powerful role in shaping reactions. The words chosen in moments of stress either escalate or de-escalate tension. Saying "this is unbearable" intensifies suffering, while saying "this is challenging but manageable" preserves mental balance. By carefully selecting internal and external language, individuals can reshape how they perceive and respond to situations. Patience becomes a natural companion to controlled reactions. Instead of demanding immediate results or instant understanding from others, a patient mind allows time for clarity to develop. This patience prevents rash decisions and unnecessary conflict. It encourages listening, reflection, and thoughtful communication, all of which strengthen relationships and foster mutual respect. Ultimately, the ability to control reactions transforms adversity into a form of personal training. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to practice calmness. Every criticism becomes a chance to practice humility. Every delay becomes a lesson in patience. Life stops appearing as an enemy and starts functioning as a relentless but valuable teacher, constantly presenting situations that refine character and sharpen emotional intelligence. The way a day begins quietly shapes the way it unfolds. Morning is not merely a passage of time between night and activity. It is a delicate threshold where thoughts are fresh, emotions are unburdened, and the mind stands unmarked by the noise of the world. To start a day without intention is to allow circumstances, distractions, and other people's demands to dictate your direction. But to rise with a clear purpose is to take authorship of your own hours, to step into the day not as a passenger, but as a deliberate navigator. When a person wakes without intention, their mind becomes vulnerable to randomness. Notifications, hurried conversations, unexpected tasks, and lingering worries quickly flood the mental space that was once calm and open. In this state, the day feels reactive rather than purposeful. Decisions are made hastily, energy is scattered, and by evening there is often a quiet frustration, a sense that the day slipped away without meaningful progress. This pattern repeats so often that many individuals come to believe such disorganization is natural, when in truth it is merely unstructured living. Beginning with intention alters this pattern profoundly. A single moment of stillness in the morning, where one consciously decides what kind of person to be for the next 24 hours, creates a mental blueprint that guides actions with subtle but powerful influence. This intention does not need to be elaborate. It may be as simple as choosing to remain patient, to complete a specific task, or to approach every interaction with kindness. What matters is the act of choosing, of directing the mind before the world begins to pull it in countless directions. The early hours carry a rare purity. The mind has not yet been cluttered by arguments, disappointments, or urgent requests. In this uncluttered state, thoughts possess clarity and sincerity. Setting intentions during this time allows them to sink deeply into consciousness, where they quietly shape behavior throughout the day. Without this moment of conscious direction, the mind becomes like an open field where any passing thought can plant itself and grow, whether beneficial or harmful. There is also a psychological advantage in starting with purpose. When individuals remind themselves of their goals and values each morning, they strengthen their sense of identity. They no longer drift through life responding to events. Instead, they begin to act in alignment with a self-defined vision. This alignment fosters confidence and inner stability, as actions start to reflect deeply held beliefs rather than temporary moods. Consider the difference between waking and immediately reaching for a phone versus waking and taking a few silent breaths to gather your thoughts. The first habit invites comparison, urgency, and external influence into the mind before it has even fully awakened. The second habit preserves the mind's natural calmness, allowing you to greet the day with composure rather than agitation. This small shift, repeated daily, gradually reshapes mental patterns, replacing restlessness with intention. Setting an intention also improves efficiency. When priorities are clarified in the morning, decisions made later in the day become easier. Instead of constantly wondering what to do next, the mind refers back to the purpose established earlier. This prevents time from being wasted on trivial activities and ensures that energy is directed toward meaningful pursuits. Productivity then becomes not a frantic race against time, but a steady, purposeful progression. Intentional mornings also cultivate emotional resilience. By anticipating challenges before they arise, individuals prepare themselves mentally for situations that might otherwise provoke stress or irritation. For instance, deciding in advance to remain calm during difficult conversations or to maintain focus despite distractions equips the mind with a prepared response. This preparation reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions and increases the chances of thoughtful behavior. Another hidden benefit lies in the sense of control that intention provides. Life often feels unpredictable, filled with events that cannot be managed or foreseen. Establishing a morning intention creates a small but meaningful domain of control. Even if the external world becomes chaotic, the internal commitment remains steady, offering a sense of stability and self-trust. The ritual of setting intentions can be deeply personal. Some individuals prefer quiet reflection, sitting in stillness while considering the day ahead. Others write their intentions in a journal, transforming fleeting thoughts into tangible words. Some repeat affirmations softly, allowing positive language to echo through their consciousness. The method matters less than the sincerity of the act. What gives the practice its power is consistency, the daily repetition that trains the mind to expect direction rather than confusion. Morning intention also nurtures mindfulness. When individuals begin their day consciously, they are more likely to remain aware of their actions and thoughts as hours pass. This awareness prevents them from drifting into automatic behavior. They become observers of their own habits, noticing when they stray from their intended path and gently guiding themselves back. Over time, this self-observation sharpens discipline and deepens self-understanding. There is a quiet elegance in living with daily purpose. It transforms ordinary routines into meaningful rituals. Preparing for work becomes an opportunity to practice diligence. Conversations become chances to practice empathy. Challenges become exercises in patience. The day ceases to be a series of random tasks and becomes instead a structured narrative shaped by conscious choice. Intention also protects mental health. When people lack direction, they often feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of possibilities and responsibilities. This mental clutter breeds anxiety and indecision. A clear purpose acts like a filter, allowing only relevant concerns to occupy attention while pushing unnecessary worries into the background. The mind, no longer burdened by excess noise, experiences greater calmness and clarity. Even creativity benefits from intentional beginnings. Artists, writers, and thinkers frequently struggle with scattered thoughts and inconsistent motivation. A deliberate morning focus on creative goals channels inspiration into productive effort. Rather than waiting passively for ideas to appear, they actively create an environment where imagination is invited and nurtured. The beauty of starting with intention lies in its simplicity. It does not require special tools, expensive resources, or extraordinary circumstances. It asks only for a few quiet moments and a willingness to choose consciously rather than drift passively. Yet this modest practice, when sustained over weeks and months, accumulates into remarkable transformation. Days become more organized, emotions more balanced, and achievements more aligned with personal values. All because the mind was gently guided at the very beginning of each sunrise. Every human being moves through the day making countless decisions, speaking unmeasured words, reacting to situations, and forming impressions about the world. Most of these actions occur automatically, driven by habit rather than awareness. Without reflection, days blur into one another, and mistakes quietly repeat themselves, unnoticed and uncorrected. Daily self-reflection acts as a mirror placed before the mind, revealing patterns that would otherwise remain hidden beneath the rush of routine. When a person pauses at night to review their actions, they create a private court where their own conscience becomes the judge. This practice is not about self-criticism or guilt. It is about clarity. It allows one to see where patience was practiced, where anger slipped through, where honesty shone, and where integrity wavered. By observing these details calmly, the mind begins to understand itself with unusual precision. Most individuals spend their lives analyzing others, judging their choices, criticizing their behavior, or admiring their success, while rarely turning that analytical gaze inward. Reflection reverses this habit. Instead of asking, "Why did they behave this way?" the reflective mind asks, "Why did I react the way I did?" This shift in focus builds emotional intelligence and deepens self-awareness, two qualities that silently elevate a person's character and decision-making. At the end of the day, the mind is filled with scattered impressions, conversations, achievements, disappointments, misunderstandings, and fleeting thoughts. Reflection gathers these fragments and arranges them into a meaningful pattern. It is similar to an artist stepping back from a canvas to view the entire painting rather than focusing only on individual brushstrokes. This wider perspective reveals both harmony and imbalance, allowing the next day to be approached with improved understanding. Self-reflection also strengthens accountability. When people know they will revisit their actions later, they become more mindful while acting in the present. The awareness that every choice will be examined encourages honesty, patience, and discipline. It becomes harder to justify careless behavior when one anticipates facing it again in quiet solitude at night. There is a quiet power in asking simple questions before sleep. Did I speak with kindness today? Did I allow trivial matters to disturb my peace? Did I waste time on distractions while ignoring meaningful tasks? These questions are not meant to produce shame. They are meant to illuminate reality. Through repeated questioning, the mind becomes sharper, more observant, and less likely to deceive itself. Reflection also reveals growth that might otherwise go unnoticed. Often, individuals focus only on their failures and overlook subtle improvements. By reviewing the day carefully, one might notice that they remain calm in a situation that would have triggered anger in the past, or that they completed a task with greater efficiency than before. Recognizing such progress builds confidence and motivates continued self-improvement. This practice acts as a mental cleansing. Just as the body requires washing to remove physical dirt, the mind requires reflection to remove emotional residue. Unresolved frustrations, lingering regrets, and unspoken worries accumulate throughout the day. By acknowledging them consciously, a person prevents these emotions from settling deeply into the subconscious, where they could quietly influence mood and behavior in harmful ways. Another remarkable benefit of reflection lies in its ability to refine judgment. Many mistakes are not caused by lack of knowledge, but by lack of awareness. A person may repeatedly engage in arguments, procrastinate on important tasks, or make impulsive decisions without realizing the pattern. Reflection exposes these recurring tendencies. Once seen clearly, they lose much of their power because awareness naturally encourages correction. The act of writing thoughts in a journal can deepen this process. Words placed on paper carry a weight that fleeting thoughts do not. Writing forces clarity. It transforms vague feelings into structured language, making it easier to understand the true cause of emotions and reactions. Over time, these written reflections create a personal archive of growth, revealing how perspectives and habits evolve. There is also a calming effect associated with ending the day in reflection. Instead of falling asleep with a mind crowded by unfinished thoughts, one organizes those thoughts, places them into perspective, and gently releases them. Sleep then becomes more restful, as the brain is not burdened by unresolved mental noise. The following morning begins with greater freshness and mental clarity. Reflection encourages humility. When individuals review their own errors regularly, they become less inclined to judge others harshly. They recognize how easily anyone can act imperfectly under pressure or emotion. This understanding softens attitudes, making interactions more compassionate and less confrontational. Relationships improve because the reflective person approaches others with empathy rather than superiority. At the same time, self-reflection nurtures integrity. It becomes difficult to maintain dishonest habits when one must confront them privately each night. The reflective mind feels discomfort when actions do not align with personal values, and this discomfort acts as a guide, steering future behavior toward honesty and consistency. The process does not require hours of deep contemplation. Even a few quiet minutes spent in honest evaluation can produce profound insights. The key lies in sincerity. Superficial reflection, performed mechanically, offers little benefit. True reflection demands openness, a willingness to acknowledge both strengths and weaknesses without distortion or excuse. Over time, daily reflection reshapes personality itself. Impulsive individuals grow more measured. Reactive individuals become thoughtful. Disorganized individuals develop clearer priorities. This transformation occurs gradually, almost invisibly, yet its effects accumulate until others begin to notice a newfound calmness, maturity, and reliability in the reflective person's character. Self-reflection also sharpens memory and awareness. When people know they will revisit their day, they begin paying closer attention to details as events unfold. Conversations are remembered more clearly, actions are considered more carefully, and experiences are absorbed more deeply. Life stops feeling like a blur of passing moments and begins to feel like a meaningful sequence of lessons and experiences. This habit cultivates a stronger connection with one's inner voice. In a world filled with constant noise, opinions, and expectations, it is easy to lose touch with personal beliefs and values. Reflection creates a protected space where the mind can speak freely without interruption. In that quiet mental space, individuals rediscover what truly matters to them, what they wish to improve, and what kind of person they aspire to become. Challenges often arrive unannounced, wearing the disguise of inconvenience, failure, or disappointment. At first glance, they appear as barriers that interrupt comfort and disturb carefully arranged plans. Yet beneath their rough surface lies an opportunity that few recognize immediately. The ability to train the mind to welcome challenges instead of fearing them transforms ordinary individuals into resilient, adaptable, and remarkably confident beings. Human instinct naturally seeks safety and predictability. Comfort feels warm, familiar, and reassuring, while difficulty feels cold and threatening. This instinct, though useful for survival in ancient times, becomes a limitation in modern life, where growth depends on exploration, learning, and adaptation. When people avoid challenges, they remain confined within the narrow boundaries of their current abilities. Their potential stays dormant, like a seed kept in a sealed jar, safe, but never allowed to sprout. Embracing challenges begins with altering perception. Instead of viewing a problem as an enemy, one learns to see it as a demanding teacher. Every obstacle carries a lesson hidden within it, though the lesson often reveals itself only after patience and effort. A failed attempt teaches strategy. A criticism teaches humility and improvement. A loss teaches resilience and emotional strength. When the mind learns to search for these lessons, difficulties stop appearing meaningless and start feeling purposeful. There is a certain excitement hidden in challenges that many people overlook. Just as athletes feel alive when facing strong opponents, the mind feels invigorated when presented with complex tasks or unexpected setbacks. Overcoming something difficult creates a sense of achievement far deeper than completing something easy. This satisfaction is not merely external. It is a quiet pride that grows within, reinforcing self-belief and courage. Avoiding challenges may offer temporary relief, but it gradually weakens confidence. Each avoided difficulty sends a silent message to the subconscious. I am not capable of handling this. Over time, this message erodes self-trust and creates a fragile mindset that shatters under pressure. In contrast, facing challenges, even when success is uncertain, builds a history of bravery. The mind begins to recall past struggles that were survived and conquered, and this memory becomes a shield against future fear. Training the mind to embrace challenges requires deliberate practice. It starts with small acts of courage, speaking up in a meeting despite nervousness, attempting a difficult problem instead of skipping it, learning a new skill that initially feels uncomfortable. These small confrontations with difficulty gradually reprogram the brain. What once triggered anxiety begins to feel familiar, and what once felt impossible begins to feel achievable. Failure is often the greatest source of fear when facing challenges. Society tends to celebrate success while quietly hiding the countless failures that preceded it. This creates the illusion that failure is rare and shameful, when in reality, it is a natural and essential step in every learning process. When the mind accepts failure as a form of feedback rather than a sign of inadequacy, challenges lose much of their threatening power. Another important aspect of embracing challenges is understanding that discomfort is not always harmful. Physical exercise provides a simple example. Muscles grow stronger only after experiencing strain and microscopic tears. In the same way, mental strength develops when the mind stretches beyond its comfort zone. Temporary stress and confusion are often signs that growth is occurring, not signals that one should retreat. Challenges also reveal hidden abilities. Many individuals underestimate their own capacity because they have never been pushed to discover it. Under pressure, creativity emerges, problem-solving skills sharpen, and emotional endurance expands. Situations that initially appear overwhelming often awaken strengths that were previously unnoticed. This discovery of inner capability builds a deep and lasting confidence that cannot be gained through comfort alone. When people learn to embrace challenges, they begin to approach life with curiosity rather than dread. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they start asking, "What might I learn from this?" This shift in questioning changes emotional reactions dramatically. Anxiety transforms into anticipation, and hesitation transforms into initiative. Life begins to feel like an adventurous journey rather than a series of threats to avoid. There is also a social advantage to this mindset. Individuals who face challenges calmly and persistently often earn respect and trust from others. They are seen as reliable problem solvers, capable of handling crises without panic. Their presence in a team or community becomes reassuring, as they contribute not only effort but also stability and determination during difficult moments. Embracing challenges strengthens discipline. Difficult tasks demand focus, patience, and perseverance. By repeatedly engaging with such tasks, individuals develop habits of concentration and resilience that benefit area of life. Academic pursuits, professional responsibilities, personal relationships, and creative endeavors all require sustained effort. A mind trained through challenges is better prepared to handle these demands without becoming overwhelmed. Another subtle but profound benefit lies in the expansion of perspective. When life is easy, understanding remains shallow because experiences are limited. Challenges force individuals to explore unfamiliar situations, interact with diverse people, and confront complex emotions. This exposure broadens empathy and wisdom, making a person more mature and insightful. Fear of judgment often discourages people from embracing challenges. They worry about how others will perceive their struggles or mistakes. However, those who succeed in the long term are rarely those who avoided embarrassment. They are those who risked it and learned from the outcome. Recognizing that everyone faces difficulties, even if they hide them well, reduces the weight of this social fear. There is a transformative moment that occurs when a person faces a challenge they once considered impossible and realizes they have survived it. That moment reshapes identity. They no longer see themselves as fragile or incapable. They begin to trust their resilience. This trust becomes a foundation upon which future courage is built, allowing them to approach even larger challenges with greater composure. The mind, like any other part of the body, adapts to the conditions it experiences repeatedly. If it is constantly sheltered from difficulty, it becomes sensitive and easily disturbed. If it is regularly exposed to manageable challenges, it becomes tough, flexible, and resourceful. This adaptability is one of the most powerful features of human psychology, allowing individuals to transform fear into strength through consistent exposure and practice. By consciously welcoming challenges, a person gradually transforms their relationship with uncertainty. Instead of resisting change, they begin to flow with it. Instead of viewing obstacles as interruptions, they see them as integral chapters in the story of growth and achievement. Life's unpredictability stops feeling like a threat and starts appearing as a field of endless possibilities where character, skill, and wisdom are continuously refined. The human mind is a vast and fertile landscape, capable of producing ideas of remarkable beauty as well as thoughts that carry seeds of anxiety, bitterness, and doubt. Just as a garden left unattended becomes overrun with weeds, a mind left unguarded slowly fills with negative and unproductive thoughts. These thoughts may seem harmless at first, yet over time they shape mood, behavior, and even the direction of one's life. Guarding the mind is not an act of fear or isolation. It is an act of wisdom, a deliberate effort to preserve clarity, peace, and inner strength. Every day, countless impressions attempt to enter the mind. Conversations, social media, news headlines, criticism, praise, comparisons, and expectations all compete for attention. Without conscious filtering, the mind absorbs these impressions automatically, storing them as beliefs and assumptions. A single negative comment can echo repeatedly in memory, overshadowing dozens of positive experiences. This tendency reveals how vulnerable the mind is to external influence when it is not protected by awareness. Guarding the mind begins with recognizing that not every thought deserves attention. Thoughts arise continuously, many of them shaped by past experiences, fears, or random associations. Treating every thought as truth gives them undeserved authority. A disciplined thinker learns to observe thoughts as passing mental events rather than absolute facts. When a pessimistic idea appears, whispering that failure is inevitable or that one is not good enough, it can be acknowledged without being believed or entertained. Language plays a powerful role in shaping internal dialogue. Words repeated silently in the mind become scripts that guide perception and behavior. If these scripts are filled with self-criticism and doubt, they create an atmosphere of constant tension and insecurity. Guarding the mind involves consciously replacing destructive language with balanced and constructive expressions. Instead of thinking, "I always fail," one might think, "I am still learning and improving." This subtle shift changes emotional responses and encourages persistence rather than surrender. Another aspect of protecting the mind is selective exposure. Just as one would not willingly consume contaminated food, one should not willingly consume mental content that poisons mood and perspective. Endless exposure to sensationalized news, toxic discussions, or environments filled with negativity gradually erodes optimism and peace. Choosing what to read, watch, and listen to becomes a form of mental hygiene, ensuring that the mind is nourished with ideas that inspire growth rather than despair. Guarding the mind also requires emotional boundaries. Other people's anger, jealousy, or pessimism often seeks an audience. When individuals internalize these emotions, they begin to carry burdens that do not belong to them. Learning to listen without absorbing negativity is a delicate but essential skill. It allows one to remain compassionate and supportive while preserving inner stability. The mind is particularly vulnerable during moments of fatigue, stress, or loneliness. In such states, negative thoughts find it easier to gain entry and linger longer. Recognizing these vulnerable periods allows individuals to take extra care, engaging in restorative activities such as rest, meaningful conversation, or creative expression. Strengthening mental resilience during calm periods makes it easier to defend against negativity during difficult times. Guarding the mind does not mean suppressing unpleasant emotions or pretending that everything is perfect. Painful experiences, grief, disappointment, and anger are natural parts of human life. Ignoring them entirely would create emotional imbalance. Instead, guarding the mind involves processing these emotions consciously and constructively, preventing them from transforming into bitterness or hopelessness. It is the difference between acknowledging a storm and allowing it to flood the entire house. The influence of repetition cannot be underestimated. Thoughts that are entertained frequently carve deep pathways in the brain, making them easier to access in the future. If someone repeatedly dwells on past mistakes or imagined future disasters, these mental patterns become automatic. Guarding the mind means interrupting these cycles before they solidify. Redirecting attention toward productive tasks, engaging in physical movement, or focusing on gratitude helps weaken negative mental loops and strengthen healthier ones. There is also a profound connection between the company one keeps and the quality of one's thoughts. Humans naturally mirror the attitudes and beliefs of those around them. Spending time with individuals who constantly complain, gossip, or belittle others gradually influences one's own thinking, even if unconsciously. Choosing companions who value positivity, honesty, and growth creates an environment where constructive thinking is reinforced naturally. Self-awareness acts as the primary sentinel guarding the gates of the mind. By paying attention to what one is thinking and feeling throughout the day, it becomes easier to identify when negativity begins to creep in. This awareness allows for timely correction. Instead of drifting deeper into pessimism, one can pause, question the thought, and choose a more balanced perspective. Without such awareness, negative thinking spreads silently, shaping behavior without being noticed. Another powerful method of protecting the mind involves cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts focus from what is lacking to what is present, from what is broken to what is functioning. This shift does not deny the existence of problems. It simply prevents them from dominating perception. A mind trained to notice blessings alongside challenges becomes naturally more resilient and less susceptible to despair. Creative expression can also serve as a protective barrier. Writing, painting, music, or any form of artistic outlet allows emotions and thoughts to flow outward rather than stagnate internally. When feelings are expressed constructively, they lose much of their destructive potential. The mind feels lighter, clearer, and more capable of focusing on meaningful pursuits. Guarding the mind is ultimately about respect for one's mental space and emotional well-being. Just as individuals lock their doors to protect physical belongings, they must also protect the intangible yet invaluable treasures within their consciousness, their peace, their hope, their self-belief. This protection is not achieved through isolation, but through mindful selection, conscious awareness, and disciplined thinking. Over time, a well-guarded mind develops a calm and stable atmosphere. External chaos may continue, criticism may still occur, and unexpected difficulties may arise, yet the internal environment remains orderly and composed. Decisions are made with clarity rather than confusion. Relationships are approached with empathy rather than suspicion, and challenges are met with reason rather than panic. Praise and criticism are two powerful forces that constantly attempt to shape human behavior. Both arrive from the outside world, often carrying strong emotional weight, and both have the potential to influence how a person perceives themselves. Remaining calm in the face of either is not indifference. It is a refined form of emotional balance that protects inner stability from being shaken by external opinions. From early childhood, individuals are conditioned to seek approval and avoid disapproval. Compliments bring smiles, while criticism triggers discomfort or defensiveness. Over time, this conditioning can evolve into a deep dependence on others' opinions. A kind word may elevate confidence, while a harsh remark may shatter it. Such dependence creates a fragile emotional state, where self-worth fluctuates according to the unpredictable judgments of others. Staying calm in praise begins with understanding that admiration, while pleasant, is often temporary and sometimes exaggerated. People praise based on their own expectations, perceptions, or emotional states, not always on objective truth. A compliment today may be forgotten tomorrow, and the same people who praise may later criticize under different circumstances. Recognizing this fluidity prevents the mind from becoming overly attached to flattering words. Excessive attachment to praise can create a subtle form of anxiety. When individuals begin to crave admiration, they may start shaping their actions to maintain approval rather than to express genuine values. Creativity becomes restricted, honesty becomes filtered, and authenticity slowly fades. Calmness in praise allows a person to appreciate kind words without allowing them to become a source of pressure or dependency. Criticism, on the other hand, often feels sharper and more personal. Negative comments tend to echo louder in memory than positive ones, creating a mental imbalance where a single criticism overshadows multiple compliments. Remaining calm in such moments requires emotional discipline and perspective. Not every criticism is an attack, and not every critic possesses full understanding of the situation. A calm response to criticism begins with a pause. This pause prevents impulsive reactions fueled by hurt or anger. Within that brief moment of silence, the mind gains space to analyze whether the criticism contains useful insight or is merely an expression of another person's frustration or misunderstanding. This separation between reaction and evaluation is a hallmark of emotional maturity. There is also a valuable lesson hidden in constructive criticism. When delivered sincerely, it can reveal blind spots and areas for improvement that might otherwise remain unnoticed. A person who reacts defensively to every critique misses opportunities for growth. Calmness allows the individual to extract wisdom from criticism without absorbing unnecessary negativity. Both praise and criticism can distort self-perception if accepted without reflection. Excessive praise may create an inflated sense of superiority, while harsh criticism may create feelings of inadequacy. A stable mind seeks balance by grounding self-worth in personal values and consistent effort rather than in fluctuating external feedback. This internal anchor prevents emotional swings and preserves a realistic self-image. Social environments often amplify these emotional extremes. In workplaces, schools, and social circles, people frequently compare themselves to others and measure success through recognition. This atmosphere can intensify the emotional impact of both applause and disapproval. A calm individual navigates this environment with quiet confidence, acknowledging feedback while remaining centered in their own understanding of their abilities and intentions. Calmness in praise also preserves humility. When individuals become intoxicated by admiration, they may unconsciously begin to look down on others or neglect further self-improvement. Humility keeps the mind open to learning and reminds the individual that achievements are often the result of many factors, including support from others in fortunate circumstances. This humility creates a respectful and approachable personality that earns genuine admiration rather than forced applause. Remaining composed during criticism strengthens resilience. Instead of seeing criticism as a personal attack, a calm mind views it as information, sometimes useful, sometimes irrelevant. This perspective prevents emotional wounds from deepening and allows the individual to continue functioning effectively, even in environments where opinions vary widely. There is a subtle strength in not reacting immediately to either praise or criticism. Silence and thoughtful consideration demonstrate self-control and maturity. Others often observe and respect this composure, interpreting it as confidence rather than insecurity. A person who neither boasts when praised nor collapses when criticized radiates stability, becoming a calming presence in group settings. This balance also protects decision-making. When actions are driven by the desire to receive praise or avoid criticism, choices become distorted. People may avoid taking necessary risks, shy away from innovative ideas, or agree with popular opinions, even when they disagree internally. Calmness in the face of feedback allows individuals to act according to logic and principles rather than social pressure. Self-reflection plays an important role in maintaining this equilibrium. By regularly evaluating their own performance and intentions, individuals become less reliant on others to define their worth. They develop a private standard against which they measure themselves. External feedback then becomes supplementary rather than decisive, reducing its emotional intensity. The emotional impact of praise and criticism is often magnified by imagination. A single comment can be replayed repeatedly in the mind, growing larger with each recollection. Calm individuals interrupt this cycle by treating feedback as a brief event rather than an endless mental narrative. They acknowledge it, learn from it if necessary, and then allow it to fade naturally. In professional and personal relationships, this calmness fosters healthier communication. When people know their words will not provoke extreme reactions, they feel safer expressing honest opinions. This openness encourages constructive dialogue and reduces hidden resentment. The calm individual becomes someone others trust to handle feedback maturely. Maintaining composure in both admiration and disapproval requires a strong sense of identity. When people clearly understand their values, goals, and limitations, external opinions lose their power to define them. They appreciate praise without becoming dependent on it, and consider criticism without becoming wounded by it. Their emotional state remains steady because it is anchored internally rather than swayed by external tides. Human emotions are vivid, powerful, and often unpredictable. They surge through the mind like sudden waves, altering perception and urging immediate reaction. While emotions enrich life with color and depth, they are also temporary, shifting from joy to irritation, from enthusiasm to doubt within short spans of time. Principles, however, remain steady. They are the quiet, enduring guidelines that define character and shape long-term direction. Choosing to act according to principles rather than emotions is an act of maturity, discipline, and deep self-respect. Emotions arise naturally in response to situations. Anger may appear when treated unfairly, fear when facing uncertainty, excitement when an opportunity emerges, and sadness when loss occurs. These reactions are part of being human, and suppressing them entirely would be neither healthy nor realistic. The difficulty arises when decisions are made in the heat of these emotions, without allowing reason and values to intervene. Such decisions often carry consequences that outlast the emotion that produced them. A person who acts solely on emotion resembles a ship drifting at the mercy of changing winds. One moment they sail confidently, the next they are pushed off course by an unexpected gust. Principles function like a compass, providing consistent direction even when emotional weather becomes turbulent. They ensure that behavior remains aligned with long-term goals and ethical standards, regardless of temporary feelings. Consider how anger can distort judgment. In moments of frustration, individuals may speak harsh words, make impulsive choices, or damage relationships that took years to build. Once the anger fades, regret often follows, yet the spoken words cannot be retrieved. Acting according to principle, such as the principle of respect or patience, creates a pause between emotion and action. In that pause, reason has time to evaluate the situation and guide behavior toward outcomes that do not create future remorse. Principles are formed through reflection, education, and personal experience. They represent what an individual believes to be right, fair, and meaningful. When someone clarifies these values for themselves, they create an internal framework that simplifies decision-making. Instead of constantly debating what to do in every situation, they refer to their established principles and act accordingly. This consistency builds trust, both within themselves and in the eyes of others. Emotions often seek immediate comfort or gratification. Fear encourages avoidance, laziness encourages procrastination, and desire encourages impulsive indulgence. Principles, by contrast, often demand effort and patience. The principle of responsibility may require completing a difficult task, even when motivation is low. The principle of honesty may require admitting a mistake, even when embarrassment is certain. Acting according to these principles strengthens integrity and gradually builds a reputation for reliability and strength of character. There is a unique sense of stability that comes from principled behavior. When actions are guided by a consistent moral compass, life feels less chaotic. Individuals do not wake each day wondering what kind of person they will be. Their identity remains steady across different situations. This stability reduces inner conflict because decisions are not constantly being negotiated between fleeting emotions and long-term values. Society often rewards emotional reactions, especially in an era where immediate expression is encouraged through digital platforms. Outrage spreads quickly, impulsive statements gain attention, and dramatic responses are often amplified. In such an environment, acting according to principle becomes even more valuable. because it distinguishes thoughtful individuals from reactive crowds. It demonstrates depth of character and intellectual discipline. Principled action also protects relationships. Emotions can create misunderstandings and unnecessary conflicts when expressed without restraint. A person guided by the principle of kindness, for instance, chooses words carefully even when irritated. This restraint prevents minor disagreements from escalating into lasting resentment. Over time, such behavior fosters respect and strengthens bonds, because others feel safe interacting with someone who does not allow emotions to dictate unpredictable reactions. The process of aligning actions with principles requires self-awareness. Individuals must recognize when emotions are influencing their thoughts and decisions. This awareness creates a moment of choice. Either follow the emotional impulse or consult the internal code of values. At first, this process may feel slow and effortful, but with practice, it becomes natural. The mind learns to automatically check decisions against principles before acting. There is also courage involved in acting according to principles, especially when emotions push strongly in the opposite direction. Fear might urge silence when witnessing injustice, yet the principle of fairness demands speaking up. Desire might encourage taking an unethical shortcut, yet the principle of integrity insists on honesty. Each time a person chooses principle over emotion, they strengthen their moral courage and reinforce their identity as someone who stands firm in their beliefs. Another benefit of principled living is long-term clarity. Emotional decisions often create complex consequences that require further decisions to repair or justify them. Acting according to principles, however, tends to produce straightforward and predictable outcomes. Even when such actions lead to short-term discomfort, they rarely generate the tangled complications that arise from impulsive choices. Principles also serve as a source of inner peace. When individuals know they have acted according to their values, they experience a quiet satisfaction regardless of external results. Success feels honorable, and even failure feels dignified, because the effort was made honestly and responsibly. This peace is difficult to achieve when actions are driven by emotions, as the mind remains haunted by doubts about whether a different choice would have been wiser. Education, culture, and personal reflection all contribute to the formation of principles, but they must eventually be chosen consciously. Blindly adopting values without understanding them can create rigidity or hypocrisy. True principles are those that an individual has examined, questioned, and embraced willingly. Such deeply rooted values provide strong guidance during moments of emotional turmoil. Over time, acting according to principles reshapes emotional patterns themselves. As disciplined choices are repeated, the intensity of impulsive emotions gradually decreases. Patience becomes more natural, anger less explosive, fear less paralyzing. The mind begins to align with the standards it consistently follows, creating harmony between feeling and action. In professional environments, principled behavior builds credibility. Colleagues and leaders learn that such individuals can be trusted to act ethically even under pressure. Their decisions are seen as predictable and fair, reducing conflicts and misunderstandings. This reliability often leads to greater responsibility and respect, as organizations value individuals who remain steady in difficult situations. Living by principles does not eliminate emotion. Rather, it gives emotion a proper place. Feelings continue to be experienced fully, enriching life with empathy, passion, and motivation. However, they no longer hold the authority to dictate actions that may harm oneself or others. They become signals to be understood, not commands to be obeyed, allowing reason and values to maintain gentle but firm leadership over behavior and choices. Life unfolds in a constant stream of change. Seasons transform, relationships evolve, bodies age, opportunities appear and disappear, and even the strongest emotions eventually fade. Yet the human mind often clings to the illusion of permanence, hoping that moments of joy will last forever and fearing that moments of hardship will never end. Accepting impermanence is not a pessimistic philosophy. It is a liberating understanding that allows individuals to move through life with grace, resilience, and emotional balance. From the earliest stages of life, people develop attachments to familiar faces, routines, and possessions. These attachments provide comfort and a sense of stability, but they also create vulnerability. When something changes or disappears, the mind resists, experiencing discomfort, denial, or sorrow. This resistance intensifies suffering because it attempts to hold on to what is already slipping away. By recognizing that change is the natural rhythm of existence, individuals can soften this resistance and experience transitions with less distress. Impermanence is visible everywhere. A blooming flower eventually wilts, a child grows into an adult, a fashionable trend fades into obscurity, and even the most celebrated achievements become distant memories. These transformations are not signs of failure. They are expressions of life's continuous motion. When people accept this motion as natural rather than tragic, they develop a deeper appreciation for the present moment, understanding that every experience carries a unique and unrepeatable beauty. Clinging to permanence often creates anxiety. The fear of losing success, status, or relationships can dominate thoughts, turning joy into worry. Instead of fully enjoying a happy moment, individuals may spend it fearing its eventual end. Acceptance of impermanence removes this constant background tension. It allows happiness to be experienced more purely, without the shadow of inevitable loss hovering over every pleasant experience. Understanding that difficulties are also temporary provides comfort during challenging times. When individuals face setbacks, grief, or disappointment, they may feel trapped in an endless cycle of negativity. Recognizing that all conditions eventually shift brings hope and patience. The knowledge that pain, like pleasure, has an expiration date encourages perseverance and prevents despair from becoming overwhelming. Impermanence also encourages flexibility. People who expect life to remain stable often struggle when unexpected changes occur. They may become rigid, frustrated, or paralyzed by uncertainty. Those who accept change as inevitable, however, adapt more easily. They treat new situations not as disruptions, but as natural progressions, responding with curiosity rather than resistance. There is a profound beauty in transience. A sunset captivates precisely because it lasts only a short time. If the sky remained permanently painted in those colors, the sight would lose its magic. Similarly, many of life's most cherished moments are precious because they are fleeting childhood laughter, youthful adventures, spontaneous gatherings with friends. Recognizing their temporary nature intensifies appreciation and encourages individuals to remain present rather than distracted. Acceptance of impermanence also reduces unhealthy attachment to material possessions. People often invest emotional energy in objects, believing they define identity or security. Yet objects can be lost, broken, or replaced. When individuals understand that possessions are temporary companions rather than permanent fixtures, they become less anxious about protecting them and more focused on experiences and relationships, which offer deeper and more lasting fulfillment. Relationships themselves are subject to change. Friendships may drift apart, family dynamics evolve, and romantic bonds may strengthen or weaken over time. Accepting this fluidity does not diminish the value of relationships. Instead, it encourages nurturing them while they exist. People become more attentive, more expressive in their affection, and more forgiving of imperfections, knowing that time together is limited. Career paths and ambitions also shift. A profession that once felt like a lifelong calling may lose its appeal as interests develop and opportunities arise. Accepting impermanence allows individuals to explore new directions without feeling guilty for leaving old aspirations behind. It promotes a mindset where change is viewed as growth rather than betrayal of past choices. Fear of aging is deeply rooted in the desire for permanence. Youth is often associated with vitality, beauty, and possibility, while aging is seen as decline. Yet aging is simply another form of transformation, bringing wisdom, experience, and depth of character. Accepting the natural progression of time allows individuals to focus on the advantages of each stage of life rather than mourning what has passed. Impermanence also teaches humility. No matter how powerful, wealthy, or admired someone becomes, their status is not immune to change. History is filled with empires that rose magnificently and then vanished, leaving only stories behind. Recognizing this reality discourages arrogance and encourages gratitude, as individuals understand that their current circumstances are part of a larger, ever-changing flow. This understanding reshapes priorities. When people believe time is unlimited, they may postpone meaningful conversations, delay pursuing dreams, or neglect self-improvement. Awareness of impermanence creates a gentle urgency, motivating individuals to act now rather than later. It encourages honest apologies, heartfelt expressions of love, and courageous steps toward personal goals while the opportunity still exists. Acceptance of change does not mean emotional detachment or indifference. It means engaging fully with life while understanding that every experience is temporary. This balanced perspective allows individuals to love deeply without clinging, to work passionately without becoming consumed by outcomes, and to enjoy success without fearing its eventual decline. Nature provides endless reminders of impermanence through cycles of growth and decay. Leaves emerge, flourish, change color, and fall, only to be replaced by new growth in the following season. Observing these cycles can inspire a similar acceptance within the human mind. Just as nature does not resist its own transformations, individuals can learn to move gracefully through their personal seasons of change. By internalizing the reality of impermanence, the mind becomes less burdened by unrealistic expectations of stability. Disappointments feel less catastrophic because they are understood as temporary phases rather than permanent failures. Success feels less intoxicating because it is recognized as one chapter in a longer narrative. This balanced emotional state allows individuals to navigate life's fluctuations with calmness, resilience, and a quiet appreciation for the ever-changing beauty of existence. Gratitude is one of the most transformative forces a human mind can cultivate. Yet it is often overlooked in the rush of daily life. Many people reserve thankfulness for moments of celebration, achievement, or comfort, assuming it is only appropriate when life aligns with expectations. However, the true power of gratitude emerges not in times of ease, but amidst adversity, when challenges threaten to overwhelm the spirit and the mind seeks refuge in resentment or despair. Practicing gratitude during hardship reshapes perspective, fortifies resilience, and turns trials into teachers. Adversity has a way of magnifying emotions, making difficulties appear larger than they are and obscuring the subtler blessings embedded within them. Pain, disappointment, and loss draw the mind's attention, demanding recognition and often monopolizing thought. Without conscious intervention, negative events dominate perception, creating a cycle where worry, fear, and frustration feed upon themselves. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by redirecting focus toward elements of life that remain supportive, meaningful, or nurturing, no matter how small they may appear. The first step in practicing gratitude during hardship is noticing. Amid struggles, it is easy to overlook what is still intact. A supportive friend, a roof over one's head, the ability to take a breath or walk under the sky. These are constants that continue even when circumstances feel unstable. By training the mind to seek out these constants, Individuals create anchors of stability that prevent emotional chaos from taking hold. These anchors, though subtle, provide immense psychological strength, like roots that keep a tree standing firm in a storm. Gratitude also reframes perception of challenges. A failure, rather than being a purely negative event, can be seen as an opportunity for growth or as feedback that guides improvement. A moment of rejection may reveal hidden strengths or redirect energy toward a more suitable path. By recognizing what can be learned, what insight can be gained, or what resilience can be cultivated, the mind transforms suffering into a form of constructive experience. Gratitude is not the denial of hardship. It is the conscious acknowledgement of the hidden value within it. Emotionally, gratitude softens the intensity of pain. It allows individuals to feel distress without being consumed by it. By juxtaposing difficulty with appreciation for what remains positive or meaningful, the mind achieves balance. This balance prevents despair from becoming overwhelming and enables reason and creativity to function, even in tense situations. A grateful mind is not blind to suffering, but is able to navigate it with clarity and composure. Practicing gratitude during adversity also fosters patience. Life rarely unfolds according to strict schedules, and progress often appears slower than desired. Gratitude allows individuals to recognize incremental improvements, small gestures of kindness, and subtle victories, maintaining motivation even when large goals remain distant. Patience emerges naturally because appreciation for small gains shifts. Focus from frustration over what is lacking to recognition of what is present. There is a profound humility embedded in gratitude. Hardship often reminds individuals of limitations, of forces beyond control, and of the interdependence of human life. By acknowledging help, support, and resources that sustain them, individuals cultivate humility, reducing arrogance and pride that may obscure judgment or strain relationships. This humility deepens empathy and encourages connection with others, reinforcing the social bonds that are especially vital during challenging times. Gratitude strengthens mental resilience by reinforcing adaptive thinking. When the mind habitually seeks what is beneficial or worthy of appreciation, negative experiences are less likely to induce despair. This mental pattern reduces rumination, curtails emotional exhaustion, and allows the individual to respond to challenges with measured, constructive action. The mind becomes like a well-tuned instrument, capable of producing harmony even when faced with dissonant notes. Daily reflection is a powerful tool to cultivate gratitude. Even during hardship, setting aside moments to consider aspects of life that remain meaningful encourages consistency. Writing down what one is thankful for, be it a supportive gesture, a lesson learned, or a moment of personal strength, cements these positive elements in memory. The act of documenting appreciation creates a lasting repository of reinforcement that can be recalled during future difficulties, providing renewed strength whenever needed. Gratitude also nurtures perspective. When immersed in personal struggles, it is easy to perceive the current situation as the entirety of life, as if pain or difficulty defines existence. By practicing thankfulness, individuals broaden awareness, recognizing dimensions of life that persist beyond immediate adversity. Health, relationships, opportunities for learning, and even the simple gift of consciousness become apparent. This expanded perspective reduces feelings of limitation and opens the mind to possibility, fostering hope and creativity. Interpersonal benefits of gratitude during hardship are profound. Expressing thankfulness to those who provide support strengthens relationships and encourages reciprocal care. When individuals acknowledge assistance, encouragement, or presence, they cultivate mutual respect and trust, creating a supportive network that is invaluable during challenging periods. Gratitude thus operates not only internally, shaping one's own resilience, but externally, reinforcing the social fabric that sustains life. Spiritually, gratitude cultivates a sense of alignment with life itself. It encourages recognition that existence, despite trials, contains moments of beauty, wonder, and opportunity. Even in suffering, life is not entirely devoid of meaning or value. This sense of alignment fosters acceptance of circumstances, reducing inner conflict and promoting a calmer, more centered approach to daily experiences. The mind becomes less reactive and more discerning, capable of finding solutions rather than being consumed by distress. Practicing gratitude during adversity is an exercise in mental discipline. It requires conscious effort to shift focus from pain to appreciation, from complaint to acknowledgement. The mind, left unchecked, naturally gravitates toward negativity in challenging situations. Training it to notice positives demands persistence, awareness, and repeated practice. Over time, however, this discipline becomes habitual, allowing gratitude to emerge spontaneously, even in moments of unexpected difficulty. Physiologically, gratitude has measurable effects on well-being. Studies indicate that grateful thinking can reduce stress, improve sleep, and enhance emotional regulation. By focusing attention on appreciation rather than complaint, the nervous system responds with calmer patterns. Hormones associated with stress diminish, and overall resilience increases. This biological reinforcement complements the mental and emotional benefits, creating a holistic form of strength. Finally, gratitude transforms identity. Individuals who habitually recognize value within hardship perceive themselves as capable, resourceful, and adaptable. They no longer define themselves solely by their struggles, but by their ability to extract meaning, learn, and persist. This self-perception strengthens confidence, fortifies courage, and encourages continued engagement with life's challenges, knowing that each trial carries seeds of growth and insight. The human tendency to judge others is nearly universal. From early childhood, individuals learn to compare themselves to peers, evaluate behavior, and form opinions about right and wrong. These judgments often arise unconsciously, shaped by cultural norms, personal experiences, and social pressures. While assessing situations and behaviors can sometimes serve a practical purpose, constant evaluation of others frequently distorts perception, fuels resentment, and distracts from the most important responsibility, self-improvement. Focusing on personal growth rather than the faults of others is a transformative mindset, fostering wisdom, emotional balance, and authentic progress. When individuals spend energy judging others, they transfer attention away from their own development. Each moment spent criticizing someone else is a moment not invested in cultivating skills, deepening understanding, or refining character. This misdirection subtly erodes potential. The mind becomes preoccupied with external imperfections, magnifying minor flaws while overlooking personal areas that require growth. Shifting focus inward redirects this energy toward constructive actions, creating tangible improvement rather than futile evaluation. Judgment often originates from comparison. Observing someone's success, behavior, or choices triggers a mental dialogue. I am less capable. I would never act like that. Or, they are wrong. These reactions are emotionally charged and rarely objective. They are filtered through biases, insecurities, and incomplete understanding. By recognizing that everyone operates from unique circumstances, priorities, and experiences, a person can release the urge to judge and instead cultivate empathy and perspective. Empathy itself is a powerful antidote to judgment. Understanding that others are navigating challenges, limitations, and emotions that may not be visible fosters patience and tolerance. When the mind recognizes that behavior is often a product of context rather than deliberate malice, reactive criticism loses its appeal. In its place emerges an attitude of curiosity and compassion, allowing one to observe without condemning, to learn without resenting, and to relate without comparison. Focusing on self-improvement rather than judging others encourages honesty with oneself. It requires introspection, acknowledging weaknesses, identifying patterns of behavior, and confronting uncomfortable truths. This internal examination is often more demanding than pointing out flaws in someone else because it requires courage, humility, and sustained effort. Yet it is also infinitely more rewarding. Every insight gained through self-reflection translates into tangible growth, strengthened character, and improved relationships. The habit of judging others can also create isolation. Constant critique tends to repel trust and connection. People sense criticism even when it is subtle and may retreat or respond defensively. In contrast, a person committed to self-improvement radiates humility, approachability, and reliability. Others feel safe around someone who does not dwell on judgment because their energy is focused on learning, growing, and contributing positively. This cultivates authentic relationships built on mutual respect and understanding rather than suspicion and comparison. Emotional intelligence is deeply enhanced when attention is turned inward. By analyzing personal reactions, motivations, and limitations, individuals develop a nuanced understanding of their own behavior. They begin to notice triggers, habitual responses, and areas prone to error. This awareness enables more intentional action, allowing them to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Focusing on self rather than others sharpens judgment not in a critical sense, but in a discerning, reflective sense, identifying where effort will yield real improvement. Productivity and personal achievement are naturally elevated when judgment is minimized. Time and energy that would have been expended on critique are now available for skill development, creative pursuits, and meaningful contributions. By directing attention inward, individuals cultivate discipline, focus, and persistence, qualities that consistently produce measurable progress. Over time, the cumulative effect of this redirection far exceeds the fleeting satisfaction of criticizing others. A focus on self-improvement also nurtures resilience. Life inevitably presents obstacles, setbacks, and failures. Individuals accustomed to evaluating themselves rather than others are better equipped to face these challenges with patience and constructive action. They are less likely to be distracted by resentment or envy and more capable of learning from their mistakes. Each challenge becomes a mirror reflecting areas for growth rather than a stage for blame, reinforcing a cycle of continual development. Wisdom emerges naturally from this mindset. People who concentrate on their own evolution gradually recognize patterns in behavior, thought, and consequence. They understand the impermanence of circumstance, the complexity of human motives, and the limitations of knowledge. This insight fosters humility, empathy, and a calm, measured approach to life. It allows individuals to navigate social interactions with grace and discernment, appreciating differences without resorting to criticism. Furthermore, focusing on self-improvement cultivates authenticity. When the mind is less preoccupied with external validation or comparison, individuals act in alignment with their values and principles rather than reacting to perceived expectations. This alignment creates integrity and self-trust. Actions become intentional and deliberate, reflecting genuine character rather than the distorted influence of social opinion. Authenticity, in turn, attracts opportunities, relationships, and experiences that are meaningful and compatible with one's true self. Habitual judgment can also obscure gratitude. When energy is spent noticing flaws in others, it is easy to overlook personal privileges, strengths, and progress. By turning attention inward, the mind becomes attuned to growth achieved, lessons learned, and abilities developed. This awareness nurtures a profound sense of appreciation for oneself, for the journey, and for the potential that lies ahead. Gratitude strengthens motivation and enhances emotional well-being, reinforcing the positive cycle of self-focused improvement. Even in professional or social contexts, this mindset creates measurable advantages. Leaders, colleagues, and peers recognize those who are committed to self-improvement as trustworthy, competent, and stable. They are less likely to be swayed by gossip, competition, or petty conflicts, and more likely to earn respect through consistent action and integrity. By prioritizing personal growth, influence is cultivated quietly, organically, and enduringly, rather than being forced through criticism or judgment. Ultimately, the journey of focusing on self-improvement rather than judging others transforms both the mind and the life it governs. It cultivates discipline, clarity, empathy, and wisdom. It strengthens resilience, nurtures authenticity, and enhances relationships. It frees the mind from the burdens of comparison, resentment, and distraction, allowing it to engage fully with life's opportunities. By consistently turning the gaze inward, individuals discover that growth, fulfillment, and true contentment are cultivated from within, independent of the fleeting successes or failures of those around them. In embracing this mindset, life becomes a continuous canvas for personal mastery. Each day offers new opportunities to refine thought, deepen understanding, and align actions with values. The energy once spent on judging others is transformed into creativity, reflection, and purposeful effort. Over time, the accumulation of these deliberate choices constructs a character that is not only resilient and wise, but also luminous, magnetic, and authentically powerful. By focusing on self-improvement, individuals shape a life of integrity, meaning, and enduring fulfillment, proving that the most significant transformation begins within.